Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of The Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. So, if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. That way you'll know every time I have new propaganda to try to brainwash you with, says the liberals. But that's okay. I take it as a compliment. I'm a trophy collector. My ex-wife says I'm a narcissist, so collecting trophies is really good for my narcissism. But today's show is brought to you by Gatsby Trading Solutions. Great company. They're rising in the ranks. So Gatsby Trading Solutions. So let's go through our stats. Surprise, shocker. We have Doge has updated their website finally. So they're at $202 billion, which is $1,254.66. So it's up by like $3 billion. Okay, that's good, I suppose. It's better than the last 3 weeks where we've had nothing. The debt clock is showing 593 billion. So we're almost at 600 billion on the debt clock. 5,281. Gas prices, 2024, Joe Biden's gas prices were $3.30 a gallon, and we are at $3.15. So Sunday we were at $3.13, so it went up a couple pennies on average. Mortgage rates, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. Joe Biden's mortgage rate, 6.7%. The pressure that Trump has been putting on Jerome Powell, I think, is starting to work. He's dropped it the last few episodes that we've done. So we're at 6.375 right now, according to Zillow Mortgage. That's an improvement. We're starting, it's gone down to probably a week and a few days in a row in the last week. We'll say that. Trump's approval rating has stayed exactly the same. He's at 45.9%, which is still almost 6% higher than Joe Biden. Put that in perspective, lefties. So I'm just going to give a quick reminder because we talked about it on Sunday. President Trump has peace talks this week on Friday in Alaska in Anchorage with Russian President Vladimir Putin. I did see today where they are, Ukraine is starting to get some things around in preparations for that, even though they will not be there, but they want to have some things they want. I think they want President Trump to discuss while they're there. So that's good. We're starting to see some movement. Now, do I think this is going to be a end of the war meeting? No. It's just like President Trump was talking today at the Kennedy Center for the little ceremony they had, which was awesome because it put George Strait, Sylvester Stallone as whatever honor you get for being in the Kennedy Center. Like the two greatest Americans of all time, Lonesome George and Rambo. So that was awesome. I watched it. I was supposed to be working, but I was watching it. But so that's something that we're going to see. This isn't going to end the war, but just like President Trump said today at the Kennedy Center, he said, we have these productive talks, and then as soon as I get home, Russia blows something up. So that's becoming an issue. I was quasi backing Putin, for quite a few years when this happened, but now I'm to the point where he's playing games, and I'm over it. And I think that President Putin just needs to go ahead and get a deal done. Zelensky's playing games too, but he's been playing games since day one. So, this needs to get done. I'm tired of talking about Russia-Ukraine war. So that's that. So one of the big topics we're going to talk about today is the DC crackdown, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about that. And since I'm hello, Jenny Lynn. I don't know if I'm a star journalist. I'm not a star journalist until I win a Pulitzer. So I'm working towards that. If I get a Pulitzer, then I'm in business. Trust me, like I said, I'm a trophy collector. So if I get a Pulitzer, I'm going to take it with me everywhere. I'm just going to walk downtown Atlanta with my Pulitzer and demand respect. That's not going to work out. It's not going to work out for me. But I'll definitely, you'll see it. I'll put it like my little Pulitzer plaque, like right there, so everybody sees it every time they watch my show. I gotta win it first. I'm trying. So I'm trying to be the first TikToker to ever win a Pulitzer. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be a lot of cool. That'd be super cool. Be the first TikToker to ever win a Pulitzer. Oh, take it away from the mainstream media. But the DC crackdown, let's talk about that. So law enforcement officials in Washington, D.C. have arrested more than 100 people since August 7th. So we're on today's the 13th. I had to look. I don't even know what day it is. All days are just like a giant run-on sentence to me. Law enforcement officials have arrested a total of, so we have an actual count on August 7th of 103 individuals as of Wednesday morning, August 7th, which includes 43 who were arrested Tuesday, a White House official told, I think it was Fox Digital. The arrests are part of Trump's March executive order, which established the Making D.C. Safe and Beautiful task force ahead of Trump's Monday announcement, federalizing the D.C. Police Department. So you're seeing all these stupid protests going on like normal. So every time the leftist senators want to complain about something, they go start riots everywhere and get these stupid protests that block traffic and cause problems. So if you watch my show for a long period of time, you will see that I am not much of a protest person. I'm kind of a lone wolf kind of guy. So I have my own. You're more than welcome to protest all you want. The United States Constitution says you can. You're just not going to see me in the protest. So, it is what it is. However, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you arguing against a safe city? I just don't. I can't wrap my head around that, and it's really aggravating me because they're going to paint this picture because federal agents, people are coming in armored vehicles, blah blah blah. I know it optic-wise, it looks really aggressive. It looks like a military takeover of a town. I'm not gonna disagree with that. However, Trump made it very clear in his speech, which the Democrat media has heavily censored. He said, look, we're going to get in there, we're going to clean the city up, and then we're going to turn it back over to Mayor Bowser. He's made it very clear that's what's going to happen. Then you get Mayor Bowser gets on there, this is horrible. We're on a 12% decline. Okay, fudgy numbers. You can have a 12% decline, but until I stop seeing little kids getting shot in the streets, you don't have the crime under control. So let Trump come in, do his thing, get the crime under control. Y'all need to redo your ridiculous sentencing guidelines because you got kids shooting people and they're getting probation out of it. That's 99% of your problem. So as soon as you reconstruct your laws, then your city's going to get safer. But anyway, President Trump's bold leadership is quickly making our nation's capital safer, says White House spokeswoman Taylor Rogers. I don't know who that is. In less than 1 week, over 100 violent criminals have already been arrested and taken off the streets in Washington, D.C. President Trump is delivering on his campaign promise to clean up this city and restore American greatness to our cherished capital. I agree with that. Now Jenny Lynn, I'm going to give you another shout out. I was just on Jenny Lynn's show yesterday, Conversations with Jenny Lynn, and we talked about this in depth. And that is a huge, it's a huge thing because as we were talking on her show, every major capital is relatively clean and doesn't have a lot of crime. Except Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is the most crime-ridden capital probably in the world, or at least in the top 10. We shouldn't, as Americans, our capital should be the most beautiful, safest capital on the planet. We have the resources to do it. We have the leadership to do it, but we don't do it. And so I think President Trump has a valid point to say, look, if these world leaders want to come to our great nation and they want to visit our phenomenal capital, they should feel safe here doing it. So I'm in agreement with that. Yeah, the optics look bad, but all you liberals need to just chill out and just let him do his thing. He'll be gone, and then you can have your town back, and it'll be safer. So, and then you get guys, Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson. We're going to resist everything President Trump does. Okay, well, highest crime rate in America. Do you even have a leg to stand on? No, you don't. So shut up and get to work. Like, why are you on TV? You have a major crime problem in Chicago. You have a major gang war going on in Chicago where people are getting gunned down there every day. And he wants to criticize Donald Trump for trying to make a city safer. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. But that's what the lefties keep voting in. And you think that you're going to be exempt from crime? You think you're going to say, hey, I voted for Kamala Harris. And they're going to go, okay, you're exempt from crime. No, these dudes are going to go, you vote? I don't care who you voted for. Give me that watch, give me that purse, and give me the keys to your car. They don't care. And that's when these leftists are never going to get it until it punches them in the face. And that's what's going to happen. I've even seen some of the Democrat leaders go, hey, I would rather have Washington, D.C. a little bit safer. It's kind of dangerous out here. You got our congressional leaders, we got staffers getting robbed and beat out in the streets. That's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to be the safest city in the world. But it's not. So go get him, Trump. So Trump announced Monday that he was federalizing the local police department under Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, which allows the president to assume emergency control of the Capitol Police Force for 30 days. So there you go. The act allows him to do it for 30 days. The White House reported there were roughly 30 National Guard troops on the ground Tuesday evening, which is expected to dramatically increase on Wednesday evening. So probably right about now, they got more National Guard in Washington. The crime crackdown operation is expected to transition to a 24/7 operating status, breaking from its previous focus of patrolling the nation's capital at night. Hundreds of National Guard members have since converged on the nation's capital, as well as federal law enforcement departments such as the FBI, DEA, U.S. Capitol Police, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, assisting in Trump's law and order crackdown and sweeps of the city. I'm looking at, they got the National Guard on TV right now. Tuesday's sweep of the city included 1,450 law enforcement participants, according to the White House, including 30 National Guard troops and 750 uniformed D.C. police officers. Tuesday's arrest included 1 arrest on suspected homicide, 7 related to narcotics charges, 33 for alleged firearms offenses, 10 related to warrants, as well as the arrest of 23 illegal immigrants. Law enforcement recovered a total of 24 firearms on Tuesday, according to the White House. Democrats should be ecstatic because 24 guns got taken off the street. But no, we don't want to talk about that. Doesn't fit the narrative. Not until somebody shoots up a school, then they want to talk about guns. The first phase of the crime crackdown Monday results in 23 arrests. So on Monday they had 23, says FBI Director Kash Patel. When you let good cops be cops, they can clean up your streets and do it fast. There's going to be more to come, and your nation's capital will be safe again. So good job, Kash Patel. You're the man. I'm telling you, that guy don't mess around, man. He still has a lot of stuff to clean up in the FBI, especially in the state of Kentucky. But he's getting a lot of things done. So the nation's capital in the following years has been rocked by shootings that have left innocent children shot and dead, a trend of juveniles committing carjackings that have turned deadly in some cases, shoplifting crimes and attacks on government employees, summer interns, and others, including the fatal shooting of a 21-year-old congressional intern, Eric Tarpanane Jachim. Why can't his name just be Eric Smith? Why can't it just be Eric Smith? But it's Tarpanane Jachim. Well, either way, he was fatally shot in a senseless act of violence in a city that shouldn't have stuff like that going on. These people should be able to go wherever they want without being mugged or shot or beat. Democrat lawmakers and local leaders have slammed Trump over the move, arguing crime has fallen in recent years following the widely violent crime trends of 2020 that rocked the cities nationwide. Actually, that's not true. The crime was the highest in Washington, D.C. in 2023. So, yeah. Trump described the federalization of the police as Liberation Day in D.C., declaring, "We are going to take our capital back." Good. I would like to go visit Washington, D.C. one day, but I'm not trying to get carjacked. Of course, our crime rate in Atlanta is probably much higher, so I probably would feel safer in Washington, D.C., actually. Atlanta's insane. It's a giant party, like on every block in Atlanta all the time. It's insane. It's insane the amount of craziness that goes on there. Just another little tidbit of information that happened. So a federal appeals court on Wednesday lifted the lower court injunction that required the Trump administration to continue making foreign aid payments. So, yay, no longer will there be foreign aid payments to transgender operas in Ireland. So there you go. Good job. So I'm going to cover the India situation that's kind of escalated a little bit. And I talked about this a little bit on Jenny Lynn's show too. So Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I guess I've never said his first name before, Narendra Modi. He's likely to meet President Donald Trump during a visit to the United States next month to attend the UN General Assembly meeting, the Indian Express newspaper reported on Wednesday. So this is information coming from India. I wouldn't believe it because it's not the Republic, and since I'm on the Republic, like they should just listen to what I have to say all the time. That's how I feel about it. They should just call me and ask me, what do you think Modi's going to do? And I'm going to say, well, he's going to go sit down with President Trump and he's going to work out a tariff deal. Although the reason for the potential visit will be to attend the UN meeting in New York, a key objective will be to hold talks with Trump and iron out trade and tariff issues that have led to some souring of ties between the two countries. So I believe that that's going to happen. I believe that there's going to be a rollback of the 25% tariff as long as President Modi gets on board with Trump's plan. So hopefully that happens. So news of a possible Modi trip to the United States comes days after Trump announced an additional 25% tariff on Indian goods to penalize New Delhi for continuing to buy Russian oil. I made my positions very clear on that last week, so I'm not going to dig back into that. The penalty took the total levy on Indian goods exported to the U.S. to 50%, along the highest levied on any U.S. trading partner. So India is getting smacked really hard, harder than everybody else right now, even China. So that's going to hurt their economy. India's in a bad spot right now economically with a 50% tariff. Like I said, the United States of America is the largest consumer of worthless crap than any other country in the world. Our dollar is the most sought after currency in the world. So if you cut yourself off and have an embargo against the United States, you're just cutting your own throat, and that's just the fact of the matter. Everybody's like, well, why does Trump got to do it? Well, because we're the biggest. We are the economy. We are the world economy. That's the part that a lot of these people don't understand. I think a lot of what Modi said and a lot of what Europe said, and some of these people that are like, well, Trump's being mean. No, when you own the economy, like people got to play by the rules. And if you're not going to play by the rules, then you're going to get penalized by the economy. That's how it works, or that's how it's supposed to work. I know we've just kind of just given handouts, during the Biden administration, the Obama administration, the Bush administration, the Clinton administration, the Jimmy Carter administration, everybody before that. Except Ronald Reagan, he's a beast. You can't dog on old Ronnie Reagan. So on Tuesday, the greatest U.S. Treasury Secretary of all time, Scott Bessent, said several large trade agreements were still waiting to be completed, including Switzerland and India. I think it's kind of odd that Switzerland hasn't made a trade deal with the United States yet. I wonder why that happened. Maybe if you read my book, The Swiss Effect, it'll tell you why Donald Trump doesn't like Switzerland all that much. See how I just got that in there? Like just boom. Went right to the book. It just fit right into my news story, go right into advertising. That's skill right there. I'm getting good at this. I should have my own TV show. period. Clock it. But, so I got distracted. I just distracted myself. Bessent told Fox Business Network's Kudlow he hoped the Trump administration could wrap up its trade negotiations by the end of October. I think that's a pretty feasible goal for the Trump administration. October's a little ways away. There's still a few stragglers out there on the trade side, so we can get these tariff deals locked into place and call it a day and move on to something else. Bessent said that's inspirational, but I think we're in a good position. I think we will have agreed on substantial terms with all the substantial countries. So he feels pretty optimistic we'll get all these things done, which is good. So next, let's talk about Mexico and the drug cartels. So we'll just get into it. I'll stop and talk later. So Mexico has expelled 26 high-ranking cartel figures to the United States in the latest major deal with the Trump administration as American authorities ratchet up pressure on criminal networks sending drugs across the border. So that is significant, and you're not seeing it get advertised on any of legacy media. This is a big deal. This shows that Mexico and the United States are working together on stuff. So the cartel leaders and other prominent figures were being flown from Mexico to the U.S. on Tuesday. So basically, Trump got a hold of Mexico and said, "Hey, I need these people. Can you get them over here? Because we got a beef, and we're gonna lay the smack down." And Mexico complied. So that's good. That's good. Those handed over to the U.S. custody include Abigail Gonzalez Valencia, the leader of Los Cuines, a group closely aligned with the notorious cartel Jalisco New Generacion, or CJNG. Another person, Roberto Salazar, is accused of participating in the 2008 killing of a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy. So boom, we got him now. He's gonna face the music. Mexico's Attorney General's Office and Security Ministry confirmed the transfers, which were carried out after a promise from the U.S. Justice Department that prosecutors would not seek the death penalty in any of these cases. So they got busted. They're back in the United States. They're going to go to trial, and they're going to get put in our cushy little prisons that are nothing compared to the crappy prisons that are in Mexico. However, hopefully they won't be able to buy their comfort like they do in Mexico. It's the second time in months that Mexico has expelled cartel figures accused of narcotics smuggling, murder, and other crimes amid mounting pressure from the Trump administration to curb the flow of drugs across the border. This is a big deal because the first segment we learned that they were significant bosses to these cartels, so they're cutting the heads off of the snake, which is encouraging. In February, Mexico handed over to American authorities 29 cartel figures, including drug lord Rafael Caro Quintero, who was behind the killing of a U.S. DEA agent in 1985. So, sheesh, 40 years later, and we got our guy. So, that's good. That's good. Hold him accountable. I don't care how long it is. You mess with Americans, that warrant never runs out. Those transfers came days before 25% tariffs on Mexican imports were to take effect. Late last month, President Trump spoke with Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum, the most German Mexican president ever, and agreed to put off threatened 30% tariffs for another 90 days. So they got a deal worked out. That's what Sheinbaum. I don't get it. How was your name Sheinbaum? And you're the president of Mexico. Like if she was like the prime minister of Germany, I wouldn't even think about it. But Claudia Sheinbaum makes sense. But no, she must have married a German guy. I don't know. I've never really done like a little dig into her. I probably should, huh? But she's drawn a clear line when it comes to Mexico's sovereignty, rejecting suggestions by Trump and others of intervention by the U.S. military. So she's basically come out and said, look, I don't want your military coming into my country, but we'll start rounding people up for you. Is that a deal? and that's better than nothing. I will take that any day of the week. And she's been delivering, so that's a good thing for U.S. and Mexico relations, where you're seeing a cooperation and but we're seeing this cooperation happen, and that's definitely helping. So she's cooperating, and we need that. We need that cooperation. So the Trump administration made the dismantling dangerous drug cartels a key priority, designating CJNG and 7 other Latin American organized crime groups, foreign terrorist organizations. So Abigail Gonzalez Valencia is the brother-in-law of CJNG leader Nemesio Ruben, they call him El Mencho, Oseguera Cervantes. I get the Hispanic names right better than I do any of the other names. I don't understand why. He was a top target of the U.S. government. He was arrested in February in 2015 in Puerto Vallarta and had been fighting extradition to the United States since then. Alongside his 2 brothers, he led Los Quines, which financed the founding and growth of CJNG, one of the most powerful and dangerous cartels in Mexico. So that's a big ding to the cartel world. So I like seeing that. President Trump's doing a good job. And Claudia Scheinbaum, thank you for helping us out. So alongside his El Mencho's 2 brothers, he led Los Quines, which financed, we already said that. And CJNG traffics hundreds of tons of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl into the United States and other countries, and is known for extreme violence, murders, torture, and corruption. That's a big deal. That's a heinous group. One of his brothers, Jose Gonzalez Valencia, was sentenced in Washington's federal court in June to 30 years in a U.S. prison after pleading guilty to international cocaine trafficking. Jose Gonzalez Valencia was arrested in 2017 under the first Trump administration at a beach resort in Brazil while vacationing with his family under a fake name. Trump's made it pretty clear that he's going after the cartels. He's been doing it. He did it in his first term. So I'm excited to see that. I've seen when you have enough of your friends overdose and die off of fentanyl, heroin, like I've seen enough death of the people that I care about where I've had it. I've had it. Wipe them all out. That's how I feel about it. So I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown update of the stuff I've been doing in Kentucky this week. So I've been covering cold cases this week, and I like doing cold cases because as time goes by, people get more comfortable and they want to share what they know. So I covered one case from a young man. His name was Kevin Price, and he was from Somerset, Kentucky, which is in Pulaski County. So he was killed in 2009. He got off work from his job at 3:30 in the afternoon. He left in his truck. He had a silver Dodge Dakota. His truck was later found smoldering by a pond that was close to his work. Somebody had caught it on fire. So his body was later found burnt on Strawberry Road. So it's kind of close, but kind of not close to his work. So his truck was burnt. He was burnt. I had some information given to me that is conflicting information, but what I was told was that in that burn pile, there were other remains found. Now, I had somebody from the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, a retired deputy, jumped into my comments and said, no, there were no other remains found. But if you know the law enforcement in the area, maybe this guy's okay. I don't know. But I do know that how that county is, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if there were more remains in there. They did not want that known to the public, because then that's going to open up a can of worms with some of the other missing people that's all over the place down there. So the initial suspects, initially I was looking at 3 people, 2 men and a woman. The woman is relative. I know who it is now, but at the time that I made my TikTok about it, I did not know her name. So what happened to Kevin? He was stabbed to death. And then whichever one of these 3, which I'm pretty sure I know exactly which one it is. They tried to decapitate him. They couldn't get it done. So they caught him on fire and threw him in the burn pile. It's a heinous crime. There's a lot of moving parts to it. It was said that maybe the victim owed some money for some drugs. So there's a lot to that case. However, the heinousness of his death, I don't think he deserved that. Another case that I did a video on and looked into is way more complicated. And it opens up a lot of doors to other things. So it was the murder of Linda Gibson and her little half brother Cody. He was 4. She was 21 and he was 4. So this happened in 1994. And so Linda Gibson had a mother, and her mother was a madam in the sex trafficking industry. She was in deep with all the big name people in Somerset, Kentucky. So my focus has been on Somerset this week. But her daughter, Linda, was 13 years old, and her mom was pimping her out to all these people. So the daughter was mixed up with all these elites, and so was the mom. And she was exclusively used by one of the wealthiest people in Somerset. And his name was C.K. Cundiff. He's deceased now. But his son was also involved with her. She had Linda, the 21-year-old now murdered woman. She kept the black book of information on everybody. So that they were scared of that. Linda's mother, the madam, she also was working on a blackmail of all these rich people. So she started putting up cameras everywhere, and there's said to be a VHS tape. There are people who have seen this VHS tape. It's alleged to have the sheriff at that time in compromising situations with both boys and girls. So there's that. So C.K. Cundiff found out about this tape. He found out that it existed and he wanted it. So he sent the former constable, Frank Abbott, to pick up Linda, and Linda just happened to have her 4-year-old half-brother Cody with her. And I don't think she understood what was going on at that time, but Frank Abbott took them to Village Green subdivision and killed them. And he didn't just kill them, he mutilated them and decapitated them. And Linda was pregnant with somebody's baby. It's suspected to be C.K. Cundiff's baby or his son's. They cut the baby out of her and basically mutilated her. It was a bad thing. I've been in very close contact with her immediate family, and it's a tough situation, and they're hoping that someday maybe they can get the justice that she deserves. Same with the Kevin Price situation. Then on top of that, so Linda had a very close friend, and her close friend was found murdered. Well, they called it a suicide, but she was found shot to death in an alley in Somerset. But the ironic thing was the gun that was used to shoot her was like over 15 feet away. So she must have shot herself and then threw the gun and then fell over and died. So make that make sense. So what you're seeing here is anybody who knew anything about this situation, they were getting offed. Linda's boyfriend, she had a boyfriend at the time, big giant redheaded guy, big old country boy. They murdered him too. So everybody who knew anything about this, they killed them all. At the scene, law enforcement found a hammer that he was using on her that had, body matter all over it, hair. So she was also bludgeoned with the hammer. They went through Linda's friend's house, ransacked it, looking for any information that might implicate them. That whole situation, and this goes into more of what's happening in Somerset. So there's a documentary out there called Hellier, and Hellier is a documentary that was done by these paranormal investigators, but they went to Somerset because Hellier is an area in Kentucky, like south of Pikeville, Kentucky, in the Appalachians. So there's a lot of paranormal stuff that happens there. But these guys ended up going to Somerset and did a whole thing on Somerset, Kentucky. And they mapped out where the people in the community are talking about, yeah, we have these, rituals going on here. There's a trafficking ring. There's this Freemason rituals that go on. There's organ harvesting. There's all this stuff that happens in this little town. So I started doing my investigation, and then the people of Kentucky said, you guys got to watch Hellier. Watch Hellier. It'll explain a lot of stuff. And so I did watch it, and it does explain a lot of stuff. But this stuff is not it's not a myth. It's not a bunch of junky women making up these stories. This is stuff that's been going back, from what I've been told, to the 70s. This trafficking stuff in Somerset, Kentucky has gone back to the 70s, and it's still going on to this day. There's so much information out there of what's going on in that town today, and I'm going to eventually get to it. It's just with that situation, you have to be careful because you got to find out how high does the power structure go. And from what I know right now is it goes pretty high. It's something that the feds struggle to touch. They act like it's something that's sacred that they can't do anything about. So that should tell you everything you need to know about it, which is why I keep petitioning for Kentucky to get rid of their FBI agents in Kentucky because they're worthless. It happens right under their nose. The FBI office is in London, Kentucky, which is right down the road from Somerset. And then on top of that, all the craziness that happens in London, all the federal crimes that the mayor does on a daily basis happens right under the FBI's nose, and they do absolutely nothing. Anyway, so those are the situations that we have going on in Kentucky. I've been lucky. I've had a lot of tips come in, and I've been very successful in finding out a lot of information and bringing things to light and trying to give some people hope. There's a lot of good people in Kentucky, but there's a lot of bad politicians and a lot of bad city leaders. So it's good to help these people, regain their power back as people. These communities are oppressed. They are oppressed by their law enforcement. They're oppressed by their judges, and they're oppressed by their Congress people. And it's sad. It's sad that happens. And I know it happens in a lot of different places, but what happens in Kentucky is a giant structure. It's like a giant corrupt network, and all these towns are all interlinked with each other, and the crimes linked to the next town over, and it goes all the way up to the governor, which he just got the Transportation Bureau just got busted in a cash scheme that's making its rounds on the news, where the Department of Motor Vehicles was basically giving illegal immigrants IDs and license for $200 cash under the table, even though they legally couldn't get them. So they got busted. The whistleblowers started coming forward, rightfully so, and Andy Beshear's getting exposed for that. So all these liberals that in Kentucky, they're like, Andy Beshear's a good guy. He really does a lot for Kentucky. Bro, he gets caught up in a scandal like every 2 months. And y'all want him to run for president? He's not even in the top 5 of votes, popular votes for the Democrat primary anyway. He's a sinking ship. He's a vice president candidate, but as soon as the national stage gets a hold of all the scandals he's involved in, that'll be over with. Hell, he was the attorney that represented Big Pharma against the citizens of Kentucky. His dad's law firm was. And then after he got elected attorney general, Purdue Pharma put a bunch of money. It was like $100,000. They put it in the attorney general's fund. I wonder why. Here you go, Mr. Bashir. Thank you. Thank you for helping us not get sued for $100 million. So that's that. That's pretty much the end of the show for the day. I'm going to keep working on a lot of these things, and hopefully on Sunday's episode, we'll get some good news about the Russia-Ukraine situation. Hopefully we'll start seeing some of the pressure die down, all these stupid protesters out in the streets protesting ICE. Hopefully that can stop here pretty soon. But everybody be safe. Know where your families are at. The cities are acting stupid right now, so everybody just stay off the streets. I'm out. Peace.